Josh just dabbed, just to point that out for the podcast. Josh just dabbed.
Wait, Josh just snapped.
Mickey Mouse is the Zodiac killer.
Josh looks like he hated it.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Life Lab podcast. Hope you've had a lovely month. Welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at movies. We're going to take on the idea of the Room 101 vibe that we had last month. And we're going to carry that on, and this week we're going to look at movies. So what we've done is we've split the whole podcast into three segments, three different genres of movie. We have got action, fantasy, adventure. We have got based on a true story, and we've got a guilty pleasure round. So we're going to go through each round. We've got one per round, and we're going to have a chat, and then we're going to vote for which one each round we would agree with for that genre, for that category. So let's get straight in. Let's jump straight in to round number one.
Whoa. Before we get straight in, so like, hey.
You got to introduce us. Fuck me.
There's three people here. We're just gonna leave it. We're leaving this in. We're going to leave this in because, you know what, we're breaking the formula up a little bit because, you know what, I think the power's going to his head a little bit. The fact that, I feel a bit lesser this episode than...
Do you know, I was saying that thinking, I swear there's something I've missed out here. How have I got so quickly into this?
Maybe you're...
Just the other two people in the call.
Yeah. Yes.
Bloody hell.
So,
carry on.
So we're here today with me, Josh Baldwin, Ben Mason Foster.
Hello.
And Josh Parkinson.
Yeah, that was good.
I apologise for missing them out. This is how we need to start the podcast now. we're leaving that in. Okay, let's jump straight into it then. Let's jump straight into our movies. Ben, do you want to kick us off with our first category? Action, fantasy, adventure.
Okay, so I've chosen... Obviously, every category has been very difficult to make a decision on what, for me anyway, to put forward as my, quotation marks, favourite film of that genre. So for this one, it's a more recent film. It's down the action route rather than the fantasy and adventure, but it's a film called The Gentleman.
Oh,
so basically there's Matthew McConaughey. He's an American gentleman. He's living in the UK. He has a wife who's Cockney from London, played by Michelle Dockery, and he's basically a big time drugs dealer, but he's very successful. And the way he grows his drugs, which is marijuana, the sweet Mary Jane, as he likes to call it, he helps rich families out. Obviously, in the UK, you've got lots of big stately homes, but obviously everyone's having trouble maintaining them and the upkeep, the cost of the upkeep of all these big historical stately homes around the UK countryside. So what he does is he gives the money towards like a new roof and whatever, but in return, he then grows drugs on their land. I won't tell you how he grows them or where he grows them because it's smart. You've got to watch the film to find out for yourself. But that's what it is. But he's got this massive empire. He's built it from scratch from when he was a student at Cambridge. And basically, there's someone that's wanting to buy it, but there's also someone trying to disrupt someone from buying it, to try and fuck him over, basically. He's thinking about retiring. He wants to have kids, but it's not the right industry to be in with death threats if you're trying to raise a family. And that's what he wants to do. He wants to give it all up. He's made his money. He's done his bit, and that's it. But it's a very funny film. And it's just, yeah. I personally think it's very good. It made me laugh a lot, and I've watched it about 3 or 4 times now. It's good fun.
Well, it's good. I've heard it. It's Guy Ritchie, isn't it? That
directed, yeah. Who's the other one? Is it Hugh?
Yeah.
Hugh Grant's in it as well.
Hugh Grant's in it.
Yeah.
Charlie Hunnam.
Yeah.
Trying to think if there's any other known actors in it. I don't think there is that I can think of. But I know because I watched Snatch, which is one of Guy Ritchie's earlier ones recently, and I heard big things about that, and I watched it, and I actually preferred The Gentleman more. So that's definitely out of the two, because I know Snatch is known for being quite a classic, and I still prefer The Gentleman more. I quite like the formula of it more. I think Hugh Grant's really good in it.
Absolutely.
Is he a good character or an evil character?
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell's great.
Colin Farrell's in it.
Hugh Laurie, bloody hell. Hugh Grant is
That'd be interesting.
he's kind of the narrator, but also he's in the storyline as well. There's a bit of back and forth in present day, past day, and then whatever. But he's a bit of an instigator, and he's a cheeky chappy basically.
Yeah.
He's in Private Investigator, kind of.
Okay then. Okay, let's. Josh, let's hear your movie to go up against The Gentleman in this round.
So I've picked. It's not too recent, but 2015 it came out. Action adventure, Mad Max Fury Road. Now, I fucking love this film. I've got this film on Blu-ray. It's a. I don't know if have you guys seen it?
I haven't.
I haven't, no, but I've heard of it.
Neither have you seen it. God damn it! I knew it'd be that. So it's directed by George Miller, and it's set in an apocalyptic wasteland with Max, who's a survivor. So it's essentially a film where Max is like captured by this guy who's overseeing this like little oasis in this post-apocalyptic wilderness, like where there's like the only fresh water for miles, and like there's all the loads of people like the I guess poor people below, and then they're like now and again they'll like release a bit of water to like keep them alive. So he constantly is this bad guy's in control, and Max gets captured by this group of people because they used his blood to keep these things called, I think they're like half-breeds or half-lives. There's not much, I won't spoil everything, but there isn't much of a plot of this film. So essentially, Max gets thrown into this situation where he ends up having to help this woman Furiosa get, I think it's like 4 or 5 girls who were held captive as sex slaves by this tyrant. They're being chased by all these different factions, and it's essentially a 2-hour film that is just a non-stop chase through the wasteland. And I'll say this, some of the facts. The film is 80% real.
That sounds expensive.
Okay. Yeah.
Sounds like an expensive movie.
Yeah, so budget was 185 million. So they doubled their budget, so it cost a lot. The soundtrack, I can't give the props to soundtrack enough. It's like there's soundtracks that I listen to now when I'm just chilling out.
Yeah.
And it is real intense, like rock stuff. It's good, like it's just like stuff like that. It's like.
So it's like a film score, but like a modern film score kind of.
Okay, so we've got The Gentleman and we've got Mad Max. Here's my addition to this. And again, I mean, this is a real show of how different our movie tastes are, because mine is Miss Peregrine's Home for Unusual Children. This is
wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
This is my fantasy adventure.
I remember seeing the trailer.
Yeah, it's so.
I've never seen it.
It's so different, but so the basic synopsis is it's a boy called Jake, played by what's his name? Oh, he's in Sex Education.
Asa Butterfield.
Yeah. That's the one. Yeah.
Asa Butterfield. Yeah.
Asa Butterfield.
Asa
that's the one.
Asa. Fuck's sake.
Asa Butterfield.
So there's a boy called Jake, played by Asa Butterfield, who discovers this house full of peculiar children, and he kind of befriends them, and they become really close. and then he has to protect these children from these slender type characters who are called hologhasts. The characters each have. It was a book first, so there's a really clear and well thought out narrative behind this, and each of the characters have a different thing about them. So there's a girl who floats, so she has to wear iron boots to keep her down on the ground. There's a boy who, when he opens his mouth, like bees come out of it. There's some really spooky twins with like old style. They're like young children, but they're like old style clothes that like cover them up.
Like the white nightgown things where it's just...
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Straight
and they'll be like really creepy. Oh yeah, that was the thing. If the twins take their head helmet things off, if anything they look at turns to stone or something like that. It's really weird. And so the thing that I think is great, like really good about it, is it's for families to watch, but at the same time there's this really dark side behind it, and like a slightly kind of truthful and haunting side to it, that is just really interesting. Because about you guys, I quite enjoy watching a movie and then I'll go and Google stuff about it, and I feel like the good movies are the ones where you can watch it and then you Google and you find out like way more about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel I don't mind.
Right then, so now comes the moment where we decide. Well, let's have a little chat first of all. Let's have a little chat about our movies. Let's ask each other questions about our movies.
What would be your? I want to ask this to both of you when we come back round to Josh. But if you could, what would be your rating out of 10? What would you rate your film?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So I've got to rate The Gentleman now.
Would you say there's any actual flaws in it? Is there for you? Would you say there's anything that would?
Oh, that is so good. Yeah.
That puts it down a peg. Yeah.
I would say. No, I would say for me there isn't any flaws with it, because I genuinely really enjoy every second of the film. Like, to be fair, the start is a little bit slow, and I thought that the first time I saw it. But once you actually watch it, you understand that he's setting the scene. But the commentary from Hugh Grant's character helps, because there's like he adds in the odd one-liner that's funny, so it doesn't make it what most people probably think is boring, if that makes sense. It makes it easier to, but you need it to set the scene. It's the same with anything. It can be a bit slow to start with, and then it picks up.
So what would be your rate out of 10 then?
Out of 10, I would say 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Wow.
Yeah.
Sloppy cabbages, let's call it. 9 out of 10 sloppy cabbages.
Sloppy cabbages.
That's our rating system.
That's our rating system now. God's sake, now that's going to have to stick. Made that official now.
9 out of 10.
Okay.
Sloppy cabbages. That's high. That's high. I mean, there's a bias in here, obviously, that we're all going to get.
I mean obviously it's going to be high.
Yeah.
What about you, Josh? What would you rate your Mrs. Peregrine's?
I would. So I was just thinking about that. How many sloppy cabbages would I give it? I'm thinking I would give Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I think I'd give that an 8 out of 10, because
Okay.
I think I was just trying to think of the reason, because I don't think I'd give it 10 out of 10, because there's something about it that doesn't necessarily make me want to just watch it all the time. I think because there's a freaky side to it, it's not one that I could just put on before I go to bed, even though it's a family movie.
An easy watch kind of thing.
It takes you got to kind of do a bit of thinking for it, I guess, and if it's nighttime outside, you want to sort of
I can see that,
pick the right time of day.
That's fair.
But I mean, so I think I give it an 8 out of 10, just for the fact that it's not one that I would say, oh, it's on Netflix, I'll watch it. Other streaming networks are available. So I give it an 8 out of 10. Should we do a little vote then?
Okay.
Should we do you
Well,
or do you want to
I think
have
we
like
need to
30
vote.
seconds
Okay.
or something? Little vote. Are you
10
ready?
seconds. I mean, I'm ready now.
You picking between you two is quite hard actually.
To be fair, I feel like me and Josh have got similar action-y fit. I think Josh is more.
It's true.
Yeah. Yours is more
Mine's-
fantasy, whereas ours is on
Mine-
the same sort of.
Mine's better.
I mean, honestly, mine's better because it's funnier, and my lead characters actually talk. So.
Whoa!
Oh.
Yeah. At least mine's got a good soundtrack.
Oh.
Okay, I think I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay then, Ben, what is
So we start with Ben.
What is your vote, Ben?
So regardless of what mine and Josh's little argument there, I have decided to go for Mrs. Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children because I am a fan of Tim Burton.
Fucking hell! God.
Okay then.
So that's one down for Peregrine.
Josh just dabbed, just to point that out for the podcast. Josh just dabbed.
Let's go in that same order. So if we go over to you, Josh, what's your vote?
Yeah, I'm kind of annoyed because I'm still, even though even though me and Ben argued just then, I'm gonna pick Ben. I'm gonna pick the gentleman.
Thank you.
You
I apologise.
fuck.
I feel bad now.
Ooh.
The only reason I'd pick the gentleman over that, not because I'd watched it, but one based off what I'd seen. I'm more interested. I quite like the genre of the crime.
Yeah.
Or like the little mini gangsters, or like doing their own little things and trying to get by and seeing how their like inner things work, and like maybe there's a lot of them. I think Guy Ritchie does it quite well, where it's a story. It starts off one place with multiple characters, and then it kind of expands out, and then they all kind of like eventually coalesce at some point within the story. And I quite like that kind of setup thing. And then with Peregrine's, Peregrine's thing, I would see the only. I guess it is a bit based on maybe what you said. Sometimes I think it works where there's a lot of intrigue in like all these children, and I'd prefer a film to delve into like maybe a bit more serious of like the how these children cope with that kind of thing. More than which is the reasoning for my choice. I think I would like that Miss Peregrine's Home thing if it was a bit more central focused on just that, rather than there's a bad thing coming, you need to protect us. I'd rather it be more,
That's
more
fair
realistic as things would go.
Yeah.
That's that's the reason for my choice.
I'll
Your
take-
film's shit.
I'll take that. That's fair enough.
No, it's not.
It's a tough one. I mean, they're two very different movies. And I think part of this does come down to personal preference as well. So, don't worry.
Definitely.
So I guess it kind of right. Okay. So we've got one for me and one for Ben. I think again. I mean, similar situation with me. It kind of comes down to personal preference, and just because I really like The Kingsman, and I'm into that, and the thing is, I'm also into the detective side of stuff, because there's something really interesting about a detective story where the writer has like hidden Easter eggs. I'm going to vote for The Gentleman. So that's 2 points to Ben.
Can't believe that.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, guys.
Right then, let's go on to round two. So round two is a movie based on a true story. So we'll take the same format as we did in round one. We'll go round each person and we will hear a little bit about that movie. So my movie based on a true story is Patch Adams. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
I have no idea what that is.
Patch Adams is just it's Robin Williams as Patch Adams, and it's all about true story, obviously, all about this doctor who is technically the first what they call funny doctor or laugh doctor. and he studies medicine and studies to become a doctor, but he goes in. Prior to that, he goes into a mental asylum himself, I believe. I might have got that wrong, but I think he does. And he learns something from...
Yeah, he does.
He does, yeah. And he learns something from one of the people about laughter being one of the best medicines. And so he becomes a doctor. So he becomes a doctor, and then he goes on to test this theory of laughing being the best medicine. And so he becomes a clown doctor, and it's what they have in hospitals anyway now for children. But he did one of his kind of main things is that as a laughter doctor, he wears a red nose because it makes people laugh. I think there's a whole load of psychology behind it, behind the red nose. But so and then he goes on, and some really sad things happen in his life. But the point of the story is that he starts his own hospital, and that hospital is still going on today, and he still works there. He's still alive, and he still does talks. Not Robin Williams, actual Patch Adams.
Mr. Patch Adams. Yeah. That's amazing.
There we go.
Classic. There you go.
So I'm setting the bar there. Setting the bar.
You fucking have set the bar.
Josh, let's go on to yours. Josh, let's hear your movie based on a real life event.
Okay, right. Oh, I'm just stretching to bring out the big guns. Okay, so my one is literally the complete opposite. So I don't know how I'm gonna fare to fucking Robin Williams, but this is up there. This is probably in one of my top 10 movies. Zodiac, by David Fincher.
Ooh.
Which is based on the true story of the Zodiac killer. So I'll read the thing. So it follows a story of Robert Graysmith. It's based on the books that he wrote about the killings, because what this Zodiac killer does, he was killing people and then sending letters and stuff to the newspapers. And saying, like, anytime these killings appeared in, like, because they'd appear in the tabloids that someone's been murdered, and then we get these letters, and this guy claimed to be the killer, and he gave himself the killer gave himself a name, I believe, in the letters, and he was like, I did this, and it was like, it pretty much constantly teasing these newspapers and the police, and it follows their pretty much story. Mostly Jake Gyllenhaal playing the cartoonist. It's a film a lot about obsession and how he gets all these people get sucked into this Zodiac case, and it kind of becomes their life.
Yeah.
To the point where it's like destroying them. David Fincher, I think, took police reports and stuff from the killings, and like the items of clothing, the victims and stuff that were murdered, the scenes, and then recreated it from point for point.
That is, I mean, when a director is like so particular to the point that they want the set to look exactly like how it would have done, like that's it's just detail. Another sign, isn't it, that like this is going to be a solid movie.
Mickey Mouse is the Zodiac killer.
I knew it.
Right then,
okay.
Ben, over to you. What is your movie based on a true life event? The bar's been set really high, so you got a tough job here.
No pressure. So, okay. My movie that I've chosen that's based on real life is The Imitation Game. The story of Alan Turing and cracking the Enigma code during World War II to help win the war. Yeah,
that is a fantastic film.
That is a really good film.
Fucking.
Oh, Ben.
So
fucking.
Tell us about the movie.
So
Ben.
basically,
Bring out the big guns.
I'll tell you about the movie. So, in 1939, the newly created British intelligence agency, which we know as MI6, recruits Cambridge mathematics alumnus Alan Turing, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, to crack Nazi codes. I can't English.
You're a Nazi.
1939. I'm going to start that again. Take 2. In 1939, newly created British intelligence agency MI6 recruits Cambridge mathematics alumnus Alan Turing, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, to crack Nazi codes, including the Enigma, which cryptanalysts had thought unbreakable. Turing's team, including Joan Clark, who is played by Keira Knightley, analyse Enigma messages whilst he builds a machine to decipher them. Turing and the team finally succeed and become heroes, but in 1952, this is the sad part, the genius Alan Turing encounters disgrace when authorities reveal he is gay and is sent to prison. That's the sad bit.
Unbelievable.
And they ridiculed him just because he was gay, even though he helped them win the war, basically.
And isn't he lobotomized or something?
He made to take drugs.
Right.
To fix his illness, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it pretty much fucks him up. Yeah. It is a real tragedy that that time period not being very.
Gays weren't accepted. It was.
Not being very accepting of that thing. Yeah. Even though this guy pretty much, without his machine, like he saved the world. It's now you can't doubt that. It's like without that machine, there's a good chance that it could have ended very differently. Without his invention, and then the fact that it couldn't even like part. I mean, I'm not saying like it was okay to do it, but they couldn't even have given give him a pardon, like even though he's gay, and we don't agree with it at this time in this time period. It's like they were still like, nah, you're going to prison. It's not like
because he wasn't even.
It just happened all of a sudden. It was just. It's less than 10 years after the war finished, and then suddenly they're kicking down his door, and he's going to prison just because he's gay, and it's time's different now. You can't do that, but back then it just wasn't the done thing. It's not right. Like, even now, like if it wasn't for the making the film, I don't think I would have really known much about Alan Turing or even really knew the name.
No, me neither.
And for the fact that it's someone who made us helped us win the war, and like Josh said, probably did save the world, he's still not recognised enough. And I know recently like they've released the new £50 notes and they've decided to put Alan Turing on them, so that they'll be in circulation soon. But even then, that's just putting a face on a £50 note, which I mean I've never had a £50 note in my life.
No.
So it's like it's not even as if it's on like a 50p or something, but I think he needs more credit and recognition than what he does have, and the fact that he was basically not exiled, but because of him being gay, and like hats off to Joan Clark as well, who's portrayed by Keira Knightley, because if it wasn't for her, like I think like basically it's not really a spoiler because it's a true story, so I guess you could look it up yourself, but they get spoilers. They get married kind of, or they're together anyway, so at least it deters the illusion that he is homosexual whilst this is all going on. And she really does look out for him and care for him, and I think without her he would have fallen apart a lot sooner.
Wow.
Is it vote time?
Yeah.
Vote time. Do we want to give our do we want to go around and give our ratings of our
let's do the sloppy cabbage ratings.
Let's do it.
I'll start off with my sloppy cabbage rating. Wow, this was a strong set of movies. Patch Adams, I'm gonna give a slightly higher rating than I did for the movie previous. I'm gonna give it I'm gonna give it 10 out of 10. I'm gonna give it 10 out of 10 because I just remember watching it and it finishing and being like, again, another one of those movies where I want to look into it more. And I just remember finishing it being like, that is like one of the most meaningful movies I've ever seen in my life.
A film that leaves you with something.
Yeah, and it's one that I've remembered for years and years.
Okay.
So I'm going to give that 10 out of 10 for me. What about you, Josh?
Nice. Right.
No,
The Zodiac Killer.
See, again, I'm obviously we're all incredibly biased to our own films, but I'm gonna have to give mine 10 out of 10. Again, I don't think there's just so much there, like, that's just well done. The performance is great. I'm a big fan of Jake Gyllenhaal in general. His acting, anything he's in, it elevates to another level. Like, it doesn't, even in like the recent in the Marvel films, he's probably he's one of the best thing about it. He's great.
Yeah.
In anything that he does. Just on a side note, I recommend watching Nightcrawler that he's in. It's one of the best performances an actor has given in recent years, in my opinion. I think he's phenomenal in that. But back to the film, it's there's just so much. I remember, like, just when watching it for the first time, and it's sitting there and seeing it. You see the time thing, and you're like, oh, this is gonna take a bit, and then you watch it, and then I just got more and more into it, like it, and it hooks you. Again, I think it but based on true stories are quite a big hitter for me, because in some regards there might be a little bit of fiddling around with it, but in general, like, the base thing there, I think Zodiac is very like to the T, realistic about it. But that kind of thing is just like, this fucking happened, and all these people have gone through these events in their life.
Yeah.
And it's just, you sit there and go, Jesus Christ, I could not handle that. And you sit there and go, fucking hell.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm glad I wasn't around at that point, like, living in that town.
Yeah.
So,
Puts into
a
perspective.
10 out of 10.
10 out
10
of 10?
out of 10 would not live near that murderer.
10 out of 10. Okay, and Ben, I mean, do we even need to ask, really?
I was going to say, I don't. Yeah. I think I can confidently say 10 out of 10, and no explanation is really need to be given.
Yeah.
I feel like you can't
That's fair enough.
fault it at all.
It's
like, unless you want to fault the directing style or something, but the story in that, I think it's the same with any true story. To be fair, though, you can't fault it. Depends on what the true story is about, but something like that, or like what's it called? Dr. Snatch?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wait. Dr. Snatch? You talking about Patch Adams?
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about a character. I was going to go with it from, like, a movie between.
Oh, please leave that in.
Dr. Snatch.
Dr. Snatch. For some reason, I thought he was going to say, like, Dr. Sleep or Dr. Strange, but he went to Dr. Snatch. Holy shit.
Nice.
Right. There we go.
There we go. Okay. Well, the scores are looking good. They're looking close. I'm not going to...
do we need to do a round 3? Ben's fucking won.
Well, no, there's still a chance. There's still a chance. Don't you worry.
What, to clear the floor?
No, you can actually draw with Ben. In fact, me and Josh can both draw with... Me or Josh can both draw with you, with Ben. So...
There's individual votes as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, round 3, the final round. This could be the decider. Is the guilty pleasure round. Guilty pleasure movies. Movies that you just want to put on at the end of the day, or maybe you've got a day off and you're not really sure, you're flicking through Netflix, you don't really know what to put on. So the easy option, this is the movie that you're going to put on. So let's start with you, Josh, on your guilty
Oh no. So this is definitely something that's it's more personal to me, so I don't know why I picked it, because I'm clearly not aiming to win the fucking game. It's Scooby Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed.
That is great.
I'm a massive fan of Scooby Doo. Still to this day, I still like. But this is this one's about the gang go to a museum of their all their past solved mysteries, all the costumes that are all in these cases that they've all the bad guys they've unmasked. You've got like Captain Cutler, Minor 49er, like the zombie and stuff, like all the classical Scooby Doo monsters from the old cartoon, and then they get all taken away, and essentially there's this big masked guy, as it usually is, and they have to go find out what's going on, and during it, these costumes that these, obviously because it's usually a guy in a mask, these costumes get brought to life, and then they're actual real things, and the gang's got to I guess kind of go back to their roots, essentially.
Round them all up again.
But it's like it's great.
This is the thing about guilty pleasures, though, because a lot of it is a guilty pleasure is like something either nostalgic or something that holds a good memory to it. And I know what you mean. Like, I'm surprised you were saying like that you feel like you've got a weak option there, because as soon as I heard Scooby Doo, I was like, that is a shout.
I think the second one is the best, is the better one of the two.
Yeah.
And my favourite scene in the second one is when Scooby goes undercover and he's got like the afro on and like this white suit in the pub.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And he's just dancing with all these like this biker gang and pirates and shit.
Like he's like doing that. He's like nodding his head, and his afro's like kind of shaking off.
Yeah.
And it's great. I just love the fact that he can pass for human in these situations, and by just putting a wig in it, and he stands on his hind legs with a fucking, and he's got like a jazz, like a proper like flare jeans, and he's like walking in with like basically Shaggy and Scoob are just trying to infiltrate this little gang hideout where all the people that they've put away in the past. It's pretty.
I mean, the animation of Scooby Doo was I don't know when the movies came out, but the animation of Scooby Doo was just, I feel like, so good for its time. It must have come out like 2006.
It's 2004. Now it is incredibly dated. I feel like it's not terrible. I think they did an all right job at animating Scooby. I think he looks enough cartoony. I feel like it's just enough. I think if they went full on, like a dog
that talks,
like a real proper, just like a really realistic looking dog, I think it would have made it a lot worse. I think he's animated enough. I guess if we're grouping in the first one, I think the first one captures the 2000s a lot more than the second one, for sure. I mean, it's early 2000s. I think the first one was 2002, and it's just, you see all these guys. They've got, I think it's Sugar Ray or something, one of the like early 2000 bands playing in it.
Yeah.
And it's some of the hairstyles are like, you know, there's the ones where it's like you twist it's like twisted spikes.
Frosted tips.
It's fashion, man. It's fashion.
Oh,
that's a great movie. That is a great movie.
That is nostalgia right there. There you go. All right, I think we should move on.
Right then, yeah. Let's move on. I mean, there'll be plenty of time to cut out because obviously we're watching movies, but yeah. Let's. Who's next? Oh yeah, Ben. All right then, Ben. What is your movie? What is your guilty pleasure movie? Tell us about your guilty pleasure movie.
Okay, I'm just deciding which one to pick because I had two. So I'm because I felt like it's going to be a draw. I'm going to save one. And put forward this one, and just hope that I can put the other one forward next.
Okay.
So the one I'm putting forward as my guilty pleasure movie is a personal favourite from. It was my favourite film growing up as a child. It's a Tim Burton film. It came out in 2003. It is one of Tim Burton's films that is not as widely known, and it's Big Fish.
Ooh.
That's that one that you recommended, wasn't it, a while back?
Yeah, to you, and I think Sam's watching it, but yeah.
It's a musical, isn't it, as well?
It was a film, and then about 6 years ago it turned into a musical, but... Anyway, so it's a Tim Burton film. It's a fantasy film. It's 2 hours, 5 minutes long. and I'll give you the plot quickly. It's basically when Edward Bloom, played by a great actor called Albert Finney, becomes ill, his son William, played by Billy Crudup, travels to be with him. William has a strained relationship with Edward because his father has always told exaggerated stories about his life, and when William thinks he's never really told the truth. Even on his deathbed, Edward recounts fantastical anecdotes. When William, who is a journalist, starts to investigate his father's tales, he begins to understand the man and his penchant for storytelling. So basically, all his life, his dad's always told him stories from a young age, like bedtime stories, about, when I did this, when I did that, and he's never believed them. And obviously, years and years down the line, he's been growing up and he's had the same stories over and again. He's like, look, Dad, I'm not a kid anymore, you can stop telling me these made-up stories. So he basically thinks he's a massive bullshitter. The story then shows us, throughout the film, it's basically his father's dying. It's a bit of a sad story. His father's dying, and his son basically goes back home to, be there for the last moments, like last few weeks kind of thing. But then whilst he's there, his son's wife comes, and she's pregnant, which is a shame because obviously his dad's dying, but he's never going to see his grandson kind of thing. He then tells her the stories, and then that's how we learn about the stories, kind of, because it then goes back in time, and Ewan McGregor plays his dad but younger, and then it's just about how he met his wife, what he did during the war, and all that sort of stuff, but it all seems exaggerated and not real. Basically, he starts to die, and then they're going through all his stuff before he dies, like in the shed, and then they're finding his missing papers from World War II, and then slowly he's putting all the dots together, and it turns out that basically all the stories he told him is true. Just every now and then he's made something a bit more theatrical, but it is basically true. Instead of like beating up 10 guys, he beat up 4.
Yeah,
but it's all true basically, and his son basically realizes that and is sorry, and then it basically ends with, I'm not going to say how it ends, but it ends with him going to his dad, and his dad's literally dying on in his hospital bed, and then he's like his dad asks him, tell me a story, and then the son starts to tell a story, and then that's what really, after the events of the whole film, you then start to it chokes you up a bit, and his dad is like amazed because his son's actually now telling him a story when he hates stories, and that's why he becomes a journalist and all that sort of stuff, because he always hated what his dad storytelling, because he just thinks it's a load of bullshit basically. So I'm not doing it justice. Wow. You have to watch it, but
there's something quite sentimental about that. Like that's quite like nice. That's quite a nice movie, like in terms of like relatability.
It's about a father-son relationship basically, and how you see it progress and come out better, rather than going from hate to, because basically at his wedding as well, the son's wedding, the dad started telling a story as his like speech when he stood up, and then that was it, and they hadn't spoken for years after that, because that was like the final straw. Yeah. And so they never spoke. But obviously he's dying, so we felt, I've got to go home then and see my dad before he dies. So it's moving, but it's very well put together. It's got like Ewan McGregor, Helena Bonham Carter, some other people, I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but they're all in it as well. It's just a fantastic film.
Has it got Johnny Depp in it?
No.
Right,
classic Tim Burton.
Well, that's what I was thinking, yeah. But maybe it's too early for that. What year did it come out?
2003.
Oh, okay.
So I think Edward Scissorhands was out by then.
Oh, right.
I'm not sure.
Yes.
Right.
But I'll put a trailer up.
That does actually look so good though. I'll be honest, like when you were, no offense Ben, but when you were describing it, I was like, I don't know if this is right. But then I realised, like when in Tim Burton's way, he puts like a wacky spin on it, and like the colours, and actually, it looks. I really want to watch that now. It looks really good.
Josh looks like he hated it. He's like, not my cup of tea.
Just gonna counter that and just say, not gonna lie, I thought it looked a bit fucking stupid.
No, you can't say that. It's got a beautiful underlying message.
I'm sorry, but like even you describing it before I'd watched it, I was like, I don't know. It's just something about it where I don't know how much that would be my cup of tea. Maybe if I watched it, I could change my opinion. But from watching the trailer, that wouldn't. If like I just watched that, like if that was coming out now, I wouldn't. But I'd be like, this doesn't look like something I'd watch.
No, and to be fair, that's completely fair because I introduced it to my flatmates as well, and we all watched it together because I was like, I just want you to watch this one film. If I ask one thing of you guys whilst I live with you for the past 2 years, is just watch this film. And I tried, from like what you said, they had the similar sort of reaction. They're like, oh, sounds a bit. But once you actually see it and you see like the subliminal message throughout it and all that sort of stuff, you appreciate it more. And like everyone's just started crying at the end just because of the ending as well. It's, I don't know. It's hard. It's one of these films. It's hard to describe. You just got to watch it, and then you either love it or hate it. But no one's ever really hated it. So,
based on what I said before, we're all going to have to watch these films before the next time we do this. So,
that is true. That is true.
So remember my comments now. You never know.
Josh is going to come on and
we've got it on record now.
You're going to mention it, and then Josh is just going to burst into tears. It was such a good movie.
I take it all back.
I'll burst into tears. I'll be like, it was so bad. I can't stand it. All right.
Wow. Okay, so this is another strong round. Okay, so my movie. Is again very different. And my movie is About Time. It's About Time. Have you guys seen it?
No, but I've been told I look like Domhnall Gleeson from it.
Yeah, that's true.
Time.
I mean, he's ginger.
I have not seen it.
You do actually. That's so true. About Time is it's a rom-com, but I wouldn't say it's like a chick flick rom-com. It's more of a kind of there's a lot more to it. Yeah, there's a lot.
I've never seen it, but I imagine it a bit more like Love Actually. It's not like a chick flick rom-com. It's just a nice rom-com that anyone can watch.
Yeah, it's like a well-made rom-com. So it's got. I didn't Google this before, but it's got a really famous actor in it. Hang on, let me just really quickly Google. Yes. Okay. So in the movie, it's got Rachel McAdams, Margot Robbie, Domhnall Gleeson, Bill Nighy, to name a few. I mean, they're the kind of well-known ones. So it's based around this. It's based around a family, and all the men in the and Bill Nighy, who has got cancer, and is kind of slowly dying, tells his son that all the men in the family have this power where they can go back to any time in their life, in their past, and all they have to do is go into a dark room, keep thinking about the time they want to go back to, and then they'll go back to that time. And so that's the kind of premise of it. There's this family, and all the men in the family have this ability, and so essentially it kind of stems from that. And this guy kind of meets this girl that he really likes, but he keeps messing it up with her. Oh, so they go on a date to I don't know whether you've heard of it, Ben, because you live in London. It's like a restaurant, but it's in the dark, completely in the dark. I don't know whether you've heard of it.
I don't think
haven't heard of that. Well, it sounds really cool. I'd love to go there, but it's a restaurant, and you go in. It's completely pitch black, and you sit in next tables of two, and you sit with a random person. You just have a chat. You can't see them. You go out, and you don't even know who they are really. But anyway, so he goes to this place, and he meets this girl. And they go out, they find out who each other is, and then they kind of have the classic boy meets girl romantic relationship. Things go well, things go wrong, and Domhnall Gleeson, every time something goes wrong, he's just able to go into a dark room, think about the time he wants to go back to, and does that. And then a load of complication happens where his sister gets really injured in a car crash, Oh yes, that was it. His
Spoilers.
sister gets really injured in a car crash, but at the same time as that, his wife has a child. Yes, he's had a child, or his wife is pregnant. Domhnall Gleeson's wife is pregnant, the girl he met. And it's all very complicated. The movie does a better way of explaining this, but he tries to go back in time to before the car crash to warn his sister. She's also in an abusive relationship, so he's wants to go back in time to get out of the relationship. But at the same time, that has effects on his own life, because he's got a child, and so he goes back in time. The child isn't the same child that his wife had, and so the movie does a better way of explaining this, but that is the premise of it. So it's time travel, but the effects of time travel and how that can actually be a bad thing. So if anyone listening has ever thought that time travel could be their superpower, then this movie has a great way of explaining how there are good things to it and there are bad things to it.
I thought you were going to say, I don't know if there's anyone listening that's time travelled, but...
but just be careful, yeah.
Yeah.
And Bill Nighy, really, there's a really sad movie about Bill Nighy as he kind of becomes a shell of himself throughout.
So me and
I do like that.
Josh Baldwin have gone for the heart wrenches, and Josh has just gone with let's have fun with Scooby Doo.
I think it really shows our personalities.
It does, doesn't it? It
So
really does.
you go the heart wrench, and I'm like child show.
Good show.
Kid show. I like that. The only bit that made me laugh. I laughed at one bit where he went, my son, my dad. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Do you know
I felt the cheesiness of that bit.
It's a cheesy movie, but do you know what I really like about it? And we touched upon it earlier in the podcast about this whole thing of like British movies don't rely on swearing. And like that movie is there are funny moments in it, possibly not like laugh out loud, but they're like cutesy funny moments, and there's no swearing in it as far as I know. But like when you watch American movies, the funny moments all have swearing in them.
I feel like it's because it's the type of humour though. British humour seems to be more sarcastic or blunt, whereas Americans it's an accent thing as well, and it's the delivery.
100%. I mean that's so true. Yeah. Should we vote? Do the final votes?
Let's vote.
This is a tough one.
I think we should.
I just really hope it's a draw so I can redeem myself for the next film.
What our ratings? We got to do our ratings.
Oh yeah, ratings. Yeah. Josh, what's your? Let's do a quick fire
Shit.
ratings. Josh, what's your rating?
See, I'm going to give it. I'll be a bit more fair on it. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I can't give it a 10 out of 10. Like, it's just obviously it is a guilty pleasure, and I can't say that it's a fucking perfect movie because it really ain't. It definitely isn't.
Okay, so that's an 8 out of 10. What do we call it? Soggy cabbages. 8 soggy cabbages. Ben, what would you rate Big Fish?
Well, you see, I'm depressed now because Josh just shat on it. No, okay. I understand it's not for everyone as well. It's just for me. I just really enjoyed it.
And that's
I'd say
fair
maybe
enough,
an 8
then.
as well.
Yeah.
It's just because it's a childhood film. I've just always liked it, and every now and then when I'm feeling like, not that I'm down all the time, but if I'm like, I'm in a bit of a shit mood, what's going to pick me up? Oh, that film I loved as a child, Big Fish.
Big Fish.
And it's got, so 8 out of 10.
I would give About Time. Yeah, I'm trying to give it a more fairer rating. I think I would give it a 8 out of 10. Because I would question whether the movie whether I'd enjoy the movie so much if I'd question how much I watched the movie if it didn't have the sentimental value of the particular time that I've watched it before. So for that reason, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Okay. Let's vote. Josh, do you want to start off? Let's go in the order.
don't see. It's really difficult.
I can't picture him watching either of our films, to be honest.
I can't either. I'm so intrigued as to what
He's probably
pick.
starting thinking, what the fuck is that shit that they brought to the table? Like,
I think, yeah, okay. As much as like, it really pains me, but like, out of both of them, the time travel is a lot more interesting to me than Big Fish, because at least I can watch that and go, yeah. I get with this. I like a bit of romance and that, and it's got a little time travel flair and that. Big Fish, nah, small pond, mate.
Okay, so
No,
that's
fair,
1 point.
that's
1 point to About Time. Ben, what are you going to vote for? Who's
So
your vote
I
going
was
to?
just for like nostalgia and again kind of linked to childhood. I'm gonna vote for Scooby Doo. I really want to see About Time, but Scooby Doo, like talking about it and then remembering like the scene of Scooby dancing and all that sort of shit, I was like, oh my god, it's an absolute banger.
Yeah. I'm exactly the same from me. The nostalgia of it, the feeling of like being however old I was, 8 or something. 2003. Wait, I would have been way younger than that. 5 or 6.
We're about 5 or 6.
Yeah, sitting on a sofa, Scooby Doo on telly. Yeah, 100%. That's a vote there.
Fuck yeah, I'll take that.
Okay, so the winner is Ben with 4 points. Second place is Josh with 3 points, and third place is me with 2 points. So there we go. That was
right. One
very
more than each
close.
Of us.
Yeah.
Close call.
Close call.
Yeah. So now we have a goal to watch all of these movies. Or we probably should say that the parts that we cut out where we just watched a thing or a trailer will be in like the description on YouTube.
Yeah.
Obviously not on the wherever if people listen to it, but if you want to like watch the stuff that we do, it'll be there.
Yeah, we'll whack some links in the description. Well, that brings us up to the end of this movie. I'm not sure what we'll title the podcast, but it's like Room 101 movie style podcast. Thank you so much.
Shitting on Big Fish.
Thank you so much for listening. It's goodbye from me. Goodbye. It's goodbye from Ben.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from Josh.
See ya.
See you next month. Josh, how do we end the podcast?
Like this.